Hey, what's going on, guys? John Shea here from the No Shame Income Vlog. And today I'm going to be talking about how to go out and actually start landing SEO clients using Facebook groups. So if you guys are brand new here on the channel, be sure to throw me a thumbs up on the video. Be sure to go back and actually leave me a comment. Any comments that you guys leave, I'll actually go back and respond to your comment. And be sure to like the video. And I'm going to be releasing tons and tons of new content over the coming months. Related to getting clients, doing online courses, all kinds of things that I'm doing online to have success myself. So today I'm going to break down a strategy that I've been using and more of a case study of how I actually found a business owner in a Facebook group and I went on, I helped him out for free and how I turned that into actual paid work. So let's jump over to my desktop. I'm going to walk you through the whole process and show you exactly how it's done. All right, guys, so we're over on my desktop and I'm going to walk you guys through this case study and give you some idea of how to go about this. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is obviously step one, head over to facebook.com, and what I highly suggest you do is figure out a specific niche or a couple of niches that you want to go after, right? So maybe you want to go after people that own yoga studios, or you want to go after people that are plumbers or contractors, people that do remodeling. There's all kinds of different groups for just about any niche you could think of online. You could find a whole group of chiropractors. It doesn't matter as long as you pick one niche that you're going to get into. And what you want to do is actually start applying these groups. So once you get accepted into the group, some of them may have restrictions. Like I noticed with some of the chiropractor groups, for example, like you might have to be like a college graduate or something like that. So you're obviously not going to get into those groups. But there will be other groups that you can get into. So what I decided to do is actually get into a couple groups based around the restoration niche. These are people that deal with water damage and mold removal and like a lot of cleanup type services, right? So these are people that when they get a job, it's worth a lot of money to them, right? If they have to go like clean up a mold issue at someone's house, that could be literally worth thousands of dollars. So what I decided to do is get into a couple of these groups, and I pretty much just watch for a lot of the posts, things that people say. So I wanted to give you an example of something that came up here just in the last couple months. This guy, John, had posted, has anyone used such and such company to help with SEO and online presence? They market themselves as restoration specialists. So this obviously created a lot of buzz. And I already know if this guy's asking about this, this means that he's seeking out help with his SEO. He's seeking out help with his online marketing and his online presence. He's kind of shopping around, right? So he's asking about a specific company, but this still is an opportunity where I could come in, I could message this guy and be like, hey, here's what I do. Here's how I could help you. And what I did is I actually went through the comments on a similar thread to this. I kind of keep an eye out because a lot of these guys are constantly looking for ways of how they could get more jobs, how they could get more business. So I actually found this guy, Bill, and he ended up saying, SEO is like a ripoff, blah, blah, blah. Like I would never spend more than X amount of money. And I was kind of thinking to myself, like, why does that guy think like that? Was he burned? Did somebody really do something when when they were working with him that maybe rubbed him the wrong way? Like he didn't have a good experience. So I thought to myself, why don't I reach out to the guy who's literally like saying the worst thing possible and just see what he had to say. So I reached out to him and I said, hey Bill, if it helps, I wouldn't be opposed to taking a look at your site and giving you some honest feedback on my findings. Let me know. So he got back to me and I had asked him, what was the company used previously? And we were chatting a little bit back and forth in some of the comments. And he told me about the company. He kind of went on to talk about some of the things that didn't work out. He felt like he was paying them $300 a month just to host his website, and talked about a guy who previously did some other work and they had done the same thing to him, and he just felt very ripped off, right? Like he'd been through the ringer a few times. And I said, it's pretty typical. What's your site? Let me take a look. And he actually ended up telling me, well, they took the site down. So I went and looked him up. And if you Google him, he had a Yelp page, but this was his site here, this Restoration Services, which by the way is like the worst site name ever, restoration-services.ar-biz.co. Like how much worse of a name could you possibly get with all the dots and dashes and, biz.co. It's not even a .com. So I went to this site, right, and this is literally what happens. It just says this content is currently unavailable. You can't even do anything on the site. You can't even contact anybody. There's no phone number. The site wasn't secure, and I was like, man, this company clearly screwed him, right? They kind of left him out in the dust. And in addition to that, I noticed this business listing. This is kind of an old one. We're working on getting fixed, but it had no ownership on it. If it has this own this business, that means that nobody owns this business listing. So they literally like shut off his listing and made it so nobody owned it. and he would have to go through the reapproval process through Google to get ownership of this again. So I just thought this whole thing was ridiculous. Like, I almost felt like it was illegal what these other companies had done. Like, they shut his website down and they literally just walked away from his Google listing and left him with nothing after they had already, he had spent literally thousands of dollars with them. So here would really be like step 2, right? Step 2 is to go out and basically do what I like to call the pay it forward method. This is offering something of service. So he kind of went on to explain all of this, and I, talked about, wow, they just took the whole site. I wasn't at the time finding his Google listing. His Facebook page was down. Like, some of this other stuff, like, I couldn't even find it. And he says, oh yeah, that is the old website. And I said, no wonder you think like paying $1,000 for SEO is robbery. And I ended up getting on the phone with him, and I let him kind of talk about all the pains, all the things that are a problem for him, right? I didn't try to sell him anything. And I said, you know what, Bill, I actually, at this point, right, I could have said, well, I'll build you a website for $1,000, right? I knew this guy wasn't going to do it. But at the same time, I knew that he needed someone to get him to a point where he could feel like, hey, I trust someone again. I trust someone to do this work, and I actually do believe this can help me if I find the right person. So I did something a little bit out of the ordinary, but honestly, this is probably one of the best things that you could do when you're starting out. Is I went out and I basically found a template that I've used many times. So this is kind of step 3 would be to find a WordPress theme that you're going to use for their site. So I like to use themes on the Envato market. This is a whole marketplace where you can find WordPress sites and WordPress layouts. So I really like to use this one called BuildPress. It's like a multi-purpose kind of construction and landscape theme. I've built it for just about any niche. I've used it for chiropractors. I've used it for plumbers, painters. You could pretty much do anything you want with it. So if you check out, like, this is kind of a live preview. They have a classic version, a light. This is like a shop page. Here's one for landscapers. And they have some coming soon pages, and then even this kind of like more modern one that's like kind of a building, like office style. So I usually start with this classic one in yellow, and then I just modify all the colors, and I lay out my client sites in them. So I had actually built another site for a roofer many years ago, and I had a duplicate of that site that I could just deploy for anyone. So I basically deployed this, and I decided to go out and build a site for Bill, and I basically didn't charge him anything. I just said, you know what, Bill, I just want you to pay for the domain name, because obviously he needed a new domain. He needed to get like a .com. So arkansaspoweredry.com was not claimed, so we went out and got that. And then I paid $5 to have a logo done on Fiverr, which came out pretty good. I had him pay for the logo, and then I had him pay for the hosting, which my cost was like, I pay a friend of mine, it was like $50 for the year. So I said, you know what, Bill, give me like 50 or $60. I'll build the site, and let's get you back up and running, right? So this was something, because I learned how to build these sites, I learned kind of all the ins and outs of using this template. I was able to get it done in literally like 2 days. Like, it didn't take me that long at all. It was maybe like a couple hours of work to get this all done. So I went ahead and I built this whole site. I put like a nice stock image on here. I added some content from articles that I had, and then I just threw some stock photos in here in his gallery. I kind of put together a little, I had him write a little about us section. And then I asked, what certifications do you have? Are you on the BBB? And we just added those here. So came out a pretty nice site, right? Like, this is something I probably could have charged at least like $500 to $1,000 for. It's not like this crazy insane site, but that guy didn't need that, right? He just needed something. Like something better than like people going and visiting him and it's saying the content's currently unavailable. So that would really be the next step, was to go out and buy this theme, get access to it, and go build this site for someone. Now, here's what's crazy about all this, right, is after all this was said and done, I want to show you a recent message that Bill sent me. He ended up sending me this message just recently the other day, and let me see if I could find it. He basically came to me and he was like, what can we do? What do I need to do to start getting leads and calls on my website? So at this point, like, I've already blown this guy away. Like, he's already talking about me in this Restoration Rebel group. He's recommending me to all these other people. It's at a point where now, very, very easily, I could get this guy to start paying me money, because now he feels like, wow, I owe this guy. Like, he did me a huge solid. I'm going to refer business to him. I'm going to help this guy out. So I got on the phone with Bill and I said, you know what, like, normally my services, like when I bring on my partner and we work on this together, I charge about $1,250 a month for a business like yours. And I ended up having my partner take a look at it, and he said, you know what, like, that client sounds like he's going to be pretty easy to work with. Bill had a budget of $500 a month, and I decided to split that with my partner. So now I'm going to be profiting, and my partner is going to be doing all the work, and I'm going to be making money from building this relationship and doing this site for potentially even years to come. Like if this guy signs up with me and he pays me $500 a month, I could be getting that for like literally the whole next year, 2 years, whatever he decides to do. If he's happy with the work, which obviously he will be because I know I'm going to get him results, this is going to work out really, really well. So I wanted to share this with you guys because this is really important, right? It comes down to just building some trust with people, getting them to feel confident in working with you. And the other thing is, once you start having some of these sites, like I already had a few example sites, but honestly, I just felt bad for this guy because a lot of people in our space, they're kind of just ripping people off. So I said, you know what? If I were to have done this from very scratch, this is the same thing I would have done. I would have gone out and done this for like 5 people. I'd now have 5 sites that look amazing, right? Like if I went out to another business and was like, hey, you know, here's an example site that I built. Like, what do you think of this? I could do this for you too. Of course, they're going to be like, yeah, and you could charge them another easy $1,000 for this. I've charged $1,500 for a site like this. Super easy. You could probably even charge even more than that if you wanted to. You could include other things like web hosting and do SEO and all these other things. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. If you like some of this stuff, if you're interested in learning how you could build this up as a business, you know, scale it into something, maybe you could outsource having people do the website builds for you. You could even outsource maybe having people research or find people that need this help, like maybe they have websites that don't exist. I'm going to show you on an upcoming training that I have how I've gone about scaling my agency and how I've got a lot of this stuff really on autopilot. So be sure to register if you click the link below in the description. Register for my upcoming masterclass and check that out. And I think you guys are absolutely going to love it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.